So, impulsive, self-destructive behavior. That is literally my entire life. I have spent years and years and years exhibiting that type of behavior, and I'm just now realizing the damaging effects that it has on other people. My first instinct is to fight. It doesn't even matter about what. It's just a fight. For example, I live on, well, I won't say where I live, but I live in Long Beach, and my neighbors are constantly like setting off fireworks and firecrackers, and it makes me so mad because they're loud and it's in the middle of the night. And my first reaction and my first instinct was, oh, I'm gonna go pepper spray them. Like, who has that reaction? Like, normal people would be like, oh, I'm gonna call the police. But no, I'm like, I'm gonna go pepper spray them. And I'm like dead serious too. Like, I don't care about the ramifications. I don't care about the consequences. I don't care that it's technically assault. Like, in my mind, they're doing something illegal, so I can too. And that's like really poor thinking on my part. That kind of is the whole BPD, where I have this impulsive and risky behavior that I don't think about. So that's becoming an issue, and I'm learning how to think before I take action, because the choices that we have, we don't necessarily always have to make a choice right then and there. Like, we have time, but for me it's like, no, we don't. We have right now, and that's about it. Like I said, my first instinct is to fight. I love a good fight, and I'm a lot stronger than I look, especially when it's you against my taser. For example, I know yours are like, what are you talking about? For example, I was going up the street by my house, and there was this man, and don't you guys hate it when you're trying to like switch a lane and then like they go faster so you can't get in the lane? That happened to me, and I remember so clearly that I had plenty of room. And then by the time I actually changed lanes, this dude was right on my ass. And so he was still like right on my ass while I was like going up the hill. And it's like, you're the one who accelerated, so I couldn't change lanes. Like, there was plenty of room until you did that. So I remember he was still like tailgating the shit out of me, and I was like, I'm done. So I start brake checking him, and like, that's like where I succeed in life. I am so good at brake checking people, it's unbelievable. And don't ever tailgate me, because I will do that. But I remember brake checking him like at least 10 times. Like, just get off me. You did this to yourself. And so he went around me, of course, and he stopped, and he got out of his car, and there was a ton of traffic, and we were at a stoplight, like all the way down the hill. And he was like cussing me out and all that stuff. And I was like, dude, if you he got out of his car. I don't know what it is with people getting out of their car when they're mad, but like, don't do it. Don't get out of your car. Anyways, he got out of his car, and he was coming towards me, and he was like yelling at me and stuff. And I was like, dude, if you step 1 foot closer to my car, I will tase you. And he did. And guess what? I tased the shit out of him. And he like ran back to his car, and like I followed him a little bit, because again, my first instinct is to fight. And like, me having borderline personality disorder, I don't think about anything except for that fight. So while I was tasering him, I didn't think of like, oh, my car is registered to my parents. What if he comes to my house? Like, it was those types of thoughts. And like my dad was like, oh my God, like this happened again. And like, of course I told him, because it was a kind of major situation. And that's just like one example of like my craziness and like self-destructive behavior. I think another example would be me isolating myself and staying up super late and pulling all-nighters all the time just because I think it's fun and it's chaotic and I like chaos. I love to isolate myself, and I know I've touched on this before, but it's like my favorite thing ever. Like any chance for me not to have to interact with people, that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, yay, I can just do my own thing, I can be myself. But that is super unhealthy, and that's very self-destructive. If you are isolating yourself from friends and people, you're not living a healthy life. And I mean, I'm saying that and I still do it. But at the same time, I love to like stay up all night because it's quiet, it's peaceful, but not getting enough sleep is also like self-destructive. And I don't know why my brain or like my body kind of like turns towards chaotic situations and just doing chaotic things that, you know, aren't good for you, but it does. And I think that's a lot of the borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder. And it's super weird because like nighttime is the time where like you get most anxious and depressed. And while that happens to me, I still like to be up, which is super weird because you'd think you'd want to go to sleep if you're going to feel like that. But I like to be awake, and I just like to sit there and like think. It's not like I'm even doing anything really. I'm just sitting there thinking, doing these podcasts. Like right now, it's 1:40 a.m. and I don't know when I'm going to bed because I'm not tired. But with borderline personality disorder, it's so hard because you don't think about it in the moment that it's happening. Like it's just not in my brain, and I don't know if it's ever going to be like a thought that I have before I actually do the destructive behavior, because like what if I could stop myself? That's like the question of the century. Like what if I could think of those consequences before I actually do a certain behavior? Like that would be so crazy. And it's like you learn this when you're in like kindergarten, like, oh, why is that bad to do? But with certain things I just don't think of it, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do because, you know, I'm doing dialectical behavior therapy, and I understand it. It makes complete sense, but putting it into motion is like a whole other ordeal that I don't know if I can even try to do. But I so wish that I was able to think of like consequences before they happened, because I just don't. It's not something that I think of naturally, and it almost takes me pausing and like actually having to sit down and like write the pros and the cons and the consequences and all the things that are going to happen. But it's like you can't do that for every situation that you're in. You just can't. It's not liable. Like liable is not the right word, but it's just not, it can't be done. So that's a rough thing that I'm learning how to kind of cope with and manage. Even right now, like I'm awake at 1:50 a.m. and it's like I have a dentist appointment tomorrow, and I know I should go to bed, but I'm not tired. Like what if you're not tired, but you know you should be going to bed, but you can't? And I don't want to just take sleeping pills every day, you know? Like it's like the questions like that where it's like, where does that fit in? Like, is this an is this really a destructive behavior? Like, if I could go to sleep, that'd be super nice, but I can't. So, like, those are the questions that I ask, because it's like, yes, this is a destructive behavior and it's not healthy, obviously, but it's also not like maybe I am trying to stay up. I don't know. My brain just thinks all the time, and it's hard. It's really hard. So, yeah, that's about it for today. Sorry this episode was kind of everywhere. I'm having a lot of trouble just like forming my words, and usually I write something down at least to follow along with, but this was like completely up in the air. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this episode, and I will talk to you guys soon. See you guys soon too.